Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about yet another missing man from Nova Scotia, who is part of a $150,000 reward towards finding any information and solving his case. This reward being offered right now also includes cases like the Devin Marsman case and the Zach Lefebvre case, both cases that I've covered on this channel, and I definitely recommend checking those videos out as well. Again, these cases have such little information, and they're even more strange because it seems like police have nothing to go off of. It's as if they vanished into thin air. But today we're going to be talking about two other men who are on this reward list, one having more information than the other. 26-year-old Jesse Morrissey was born around 1996 to his 19-year-old mother, Jody. He lived in Amherst, Nova Scotia, according to his Facebook, a town near the Nova Scotia-New Brunswick border. He'd go on to have two sons who he truly seemed to love, and there's so many photos of him with his children. He'd even get one of their names tattooed on him. Just 3 months before Jesse would disappear, his brother was shot and killed. And the shooter would end up walking with no charges, which is something his family is still extremely upset about to this day, completely understandably. But none of this would help with Jesse's addictions, which he was struggling with, and it would make him even more vulnerable around the time of his disappearance. This photo from surveillance footage was captured between 2 to 7 p.m. on February 13th of 2022 in the Spring Hill area. And the man in this photo is possibly thought to be Jesse walking that day. And it's thought to be Jesse because the person in this footage is wearing the same outfit Jesse was described to last be wearing. A gray hooded sweatshirt, blue jeans, and black boots. And Spring Hill is another small town 24 minutes south of Amherst. Sometime on the 13th, Jesse would end up texting a friend named Jordan claiming he had stolen an SUV. When Jordan would respond saying, and I quote, "No you didn't man, did ya?" end quote, Jesse allegedly replied with no, which is very strange and contradictory considering he just said he stole an SUV but then said he didn't. Now I've seen this information on the Facebook group because Jordan's mother ended up posting on there saying that she'd seen the text conversation on Jordan's phone that he had with Jesse, and that was how the conversation went. And to make matters even confusing, the last sighting of Jesse is also very confusing and contradictory because there are multiple different statements of when Jesse was last seen and where he was last seen. In some reports, Jesse was last seen around 9:30 p.m., traveling in a dark-colored Jeep Patriot near Leamington, another small village south of Spring Hill. I've also read in other sources that he was last seen at a residence in the Spring Hill area, which I guess Leamington could be considered the Spring Hill area, so that may line up. But in this statement, it claimed that Jesse had been roughed up by two unnamed individuals who wouldn't let him leave. But then I seen on missing persons posters a complete different narrative that Jesse was actually last seen in the area of the Pied Piper in Cumberland County, which seems to be a now permanently closed motel near Amherst, which this location is nearly half an hour away from the other places that were stated that he was last seen. So that is something that's kind of confusing in this, where he may have been last seen, who he was last with, all of that information just seems to kind of be up in the air, which again is kind of what seems to be happening with these cases. Again, with the limited information, not much to go off of. It makes me wonder what police truly have, what the narrative is with them that's solid compared to what all of the other rumors and other narratives may be. It truly is like who is telling the truth. Jesse wouldn't be reported, unfortunately, until the next day though by family. And that same day, the dark-colored Jeep Patriot that Jesse was supposed to be in will be found abandoned in Leamington on Snowmobile Trail 104. Now this trail, as you can see here, stretches pretty far. It goes from Rodney Road and exits onto Highway 2. I think we also need to keep in mind that Google Map images here were taken in the fall and this happened in the winter, so the trails would have been very snowy. A post on the Facebook page dedicated to finding Jesse reads, and I quote, "There are reports of seeing Jesse on the snowmobile trail that day where the Jeep was found, but no one positively came forward and 100% identified Jesse as the person seen. Was it the person who drove the Jeep there? Was it to cover up to make us think the person was Jesse? Footprints from the Jeep were followed out almost behind Jesse's mother's house, so if that was Jesse, why wouldn't he just go over to his mother's? Was it Jesse waiting for someone he trusted to pick him up that led to his disappearance? Did Jesse get into another vehicle that day, or was he forced into getting into another vehicle?" End quote. Now, all the information is very interesting to look at because it says that Jesse's mother lived near that snowmobile trail and there was footprints walking towards her home, which is a very good point because if Jesse had been stranded out there for one reason or another or something happened to him out there, why wouldn't he just walk to his mother's house? Unless there was possibly substances involved, because we've seen similar things happen in other cases, like the Layla Santinello case. She was at a motel allegedly where she could have possibly slept inside, but instead it's claimed she slept out in a field because she was scared of something. So could it be something like that, where maybe there was substances involved, he was disoriented, the elements were in play here, but then again, we'll learn that there was quite a bit of searches that went on and nothing was found. His mother Jody saying, and I quote, "Anybody who knows Jesse knows he wouldn't just up and take off for this amount of time." end quote. Which is also a narrative that we see with all of these cases. It's completely out of character for these people to just up and disappear, not telling anyone where they're going or what's going on, and they just go radio silent after that. No communication, don't use their bank accounts, don't use their social medias, don't text anyone, just completely disappear. Now, after Jessie disappeared, a woman by the name of Tanya Walton would claim to have found clothing behind the Pied Piper motel containing what looked like blood and duct tape. She described the state of them as, and I quote, as if they'd just been cut off a body, end quote. And she claims that she took this information to the RCMP, but also claims that the RCMP did nothing. A year after Jessie disappeared, his family was still fighting for answers, but no one really seemed to be talking. Until this video was released on the Facebook page, which stirred up a lot of conversation. This video shows two males, one allegedly being a man by the name of Kyle Francis, and the woman in the background allegedly being named Kristen Walton. And in the video, they're talking about Jesse's disappearance and how he was murdered.
Yeah.
No, Jesse's dead too.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah, I found out their name.
they found him?
No, I found out their name.
Oh, did you?
Find out.
Huh?
He's gone, buddy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I know he is.
Yeah, they killed him over a debt. And him robbing at a certain his house in
Over,
Brunswick.
Elvis Presley stuff. That's what I heard, anyway.
Really?
Yeah, it was over a debt, like you just said. Elvis Presley stole a bunch of Elvis Presley stuff that was worth a fortune.
Yeah.
And they wanted it back. And he moved it.
Really?
Yeah.
So who did it? Somebody in Midget?
Really?
Yeah, that's what.
I
That's
know,
what.
I know that's in Goosebumps because I know the kid who has that stuff right now. So he's not dead.
They must not know then.
No.
No. Don't tell nobody. Because that kid will die too.
I know he will.
You're not going to tell him to tell him to get rid of it.
Yeah, you might want to tell him to get rid of it.
He's not my friend.
Oh, well then.
I'm going to take it from him. And then I'm going to give it back.
I wouldn't get involved, buddy.
I'm not.
If they know you know about it, think about it. If they knew
They knew that they killed them.
hey, we'd get rid of you too, buddy.
They know that I killed. I mean,
Well, yeah, just be quiet, right? Yeah, don't say that stuff.
mm,
What? I'm gonna put this pop in the fridge. I don't know how I fucking got it out. Fuck, I was hoping to have
So
a nice
the person
fucking
that did it, the Justin was a Midget?
first fucking one of the cold
Is
fucking
that
drink.
what they said?
That's what they're saying. Man.
because something there. I mean, a lot of people use the car or the truck to the Jeep, whatever, which is parked in often and like, you can get stuck. It was full of gas and
Yeah.
yeah, it was parked there.
It's over with, buddy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah, I know.
It is technically
Not
over
to
with.
me.
Well, I wish somebody would just tell
I
her
never
when the
heard what
body
you
was.
heard.
It was in a creek.
In the creek?
It was in a creek. Your left is asking creek somewhere.
Oh.
He's by a creek somewhere right now.
Well, they should tell his mother where his body is.
Underneath a little bit of snow.
No, they found the body?
No, they haven't yet.
No.
But that's where
Hope the mother gets a little peace anyway. Finds the body, right? You know what I mean?
yeah, that's what she wants, man. She wants you first, bring him home.
Yeah, that's all.
That's all she wants. She knows. She knows what everybody else
So both of her kids were fucking
Everybody else
murdered.
knows
That's all.
No one's telling her shit, man.
Why don't they?
Now, despite the family's struggles with the police not doing a whole lot, the authorities seem to have a different narrative, which, of course, they claim that in the last year and a half, the investigation has involved multiple days of ground searches and air searches with the assistance of local ground search and rescue teams, RCMP police dogs, and air services. They claim that more than 200 interviews have been completed with the assistance from the RCMP's interview assistant team, and that judicial authorizations have been obtained to collect further evidence. Yet to the family, it truly seems and feels like not much is happening. It's kind of been at a standstill for the last year and a half or so. And what also contributes to that is that Jesse's family fully believes that foul play is involved here, and that his disappearance is completely suspicious, that something else happened here. Someone knows out there what happened to Jesse, yet the police, because they don't have any evidence, can't say that there was foul play. The family have seemed to be fighting with police since day one to try to get Jesse's case investigated and solved. His aunt Tina Metcalf saying that police have made them feel foolish for being concerned and they're frustrated. His mother Jody saying, and I quote, "With all the rumors that have been going around and stuff, we've pretty much begged the cops to peg it as foul play or suspicious right from the beginning." End quote. And there's also been a lot of rumors in this case. There's been rumors of a woman showing up to a residence in Sackville, New Brunswick, which is 48 kilometers away. And she was allegedly covered in blood, and she showed up to the residence and was asked to leave, and this all happened around the time that Jessie disappeared. There's also rumors of sightings of Jessie being in a red vehicle in Sackville with a woman. It's also interesting to me that in the surveillance video, there is a red car that can be seen in the background. Is it coincidence? It could be. I mean, there are tons of red cars out there, but it also is very strange considering that one rumor. It's also said, though, that to date, there's been more than 40 people interviewed with the help of the RCMP's Major Crime Unit. And as I said, eventually, the police would start to take his case a little more seriously because it is part of this larger initiative to solve all of these cases of missing men and other missing people in Nova Scotia. There just seems to be this weird abundance of missing men that have these very strange cases. But what's truly tragic is this family has lost not one, but 2 sons and have no answers for either of their disappearances or murders. And what was so sad to see on the Facebook page is that Jessie's children will cry and ask where their daddy is, and they have a photo of him that they will hold. The RCMP does believe, though, that there are people out there that may have information to help solve this case, saying, and I quote, "We're convinced there are people who have information critical to closing those gaps and advancing the investigation," end quote. Because as I said, there's hardly anything, it seems, for anyone to go off of, including police, which makes it extremely hard to continue to investigate when there's nothing to go off of. Police are asking anyone who may have saw this person in the surveillance video or anyone in the Spring Hill area that has video surveillance footage on their property to come forward. I mean, at this point, it may have been overwritten by now, but it's still worth checking. Let's take one more good look at Jessie so that you have an idea of who to look out for and what to look for. Jessie is described as 6 feet tall, around 200 pounds, with short brown hair and blue eyes. He has tattoos above his eyebrows, one reading Tesla, the other SpaceX, and he also has his son's name, Landon, tattooed on his neck. On July 18th of 2023, Jessie's case would finally be added to the Nova Scotia Department of Justice reward for Major Unsolved Crimes Program, which offers the reward of $150,000 for information leading to an arrest and conviction in Jessie's case, or any of the cases that we've been talking about that are part of it. And as I said, this is part of a larger initiative that includes cases such as Devin Marsman and Zach Lefebvre. And Jessie's case seems to have this similar undertone of danger in Nova Scotia that's leading these men to disappear. And that's honestly terrifying. Now, another man that's part of this reward that's getting very little coverage is 35-year-old Matthew Hare, who was living in the small town of Wittenberg, Nova Scotia, during the trying times of the pandemic in 2020. Wittenberg is a small rural area 36 kilometers south of Truro, Nova Scotia, filled with forest and country roads. Again, another common theme we're seeing, especially since Nova Scotia is so rural, but there are just so many cases across Canada, especially where young men are just disappearing from rural areas and are never being found again. And I'm guessing the fact that it is so rural is another reason why it is so hard to solve these crimes, because there's going to be less surveillance footage, less witnesses. But in my opinion, there truly is a pandemic of these cases of men going missing in rural areas. And when we're really laying all of this out, it's quite scary. I feel like people go to rural areas because they want that serenity to relax, but there seems to be similar dangers in these rural areas that people leave the cities from. A lot of people leave cities and major metros because crime rates are so high. Why are there so many men going missing in rural areas? It's odd. Matthew would last be seen outside his rural home on September 20th of 2020 around 2:30 p.m. But it wouldn't be until September 26th that Matthew was actually reported missing to the RCMP after they hadn't heard from him for an extended period of time. Matthew was said to always be in constant contact with his parents especially, but even his friends hadn't heard from him since the 20th. After that date, no one has ever heard or seen from Matthew again. Police would initiate ground and air searches, yet none of them were successful. And as I said, there's even less information on this case. This is all we really have on Matthew's case, that he was last seen around his residence on the 20th, around that time of day, yet there's no information on who last seen him, why he was last there, what he was doing prior to that date, nothing. And that's the unfortunate part, once again, about these Canadian cases, that I'm sure police have more than that, but they're just not releasing it. Again, why are there so many missing men in Nova Scotia, and why do their cases not have much information? Why is it all happening where they just disappear and there's no evidence, and it seems to be so hard to solve these cases? Again, could it be because it's rural areas, or could it be because of other circumstances? A spokesperson for the RCMP has come out and stated that they believe that Matthew is deceased. However, it doesn't seem like they have any evidence or information to state for sure that foul play was involved, but it makes me wonder why they think he may be deceased then. What information do they have to say that? I mean, as I always say, I don't think people just disappear for the most part, especially people who are always actively talking to their family. They have plans, just one day they're there, one day they're not. So of course, if they just completely drop off, stop using their bank account, social media, talking to anyone, or never seen from again, clearly, in my opinion, something most likely bad has happened to them. So I could understand the RCMP going that way, saying he's deceased because of that. But why in cases like Matthew's are they saying that, but then not in others? That's what's odd to me. Investigators believe in Matthew's case, just like Jesse's case, that there are people out there with information on what happened to Matthew. They just haven't come forward to the police yet. Let's take one more good look at Matthew, because again, we don't have much information on him, but at least we have a photo and description of him for people to look out for. Again, just like in Jesse's case and all these cases, please check your surveillance footage. If you live in that area, if you have trail cams or anything like that, you may be able to find something. Again, it has been about 4 years now since this happened, so that footage could be overwritten, but maybe something out there has something, or may remember something. Matthew is described as a white male with black hair and brown eyes. He's around 5 foot 10 inches tall and around 150 pounds. He was last seen wearing blue jeans. His family and police are concerned for his safety. If anyone out there has any information on these 2 missing men, I'll have the information to contact the appropriate authorities below. And if you know of any information on their cases that I didn't include in today's video, let's have a conversation down in the comment section. These cases just keep piling up. It's very odd that there are so many of them where men just disappear with no evidence left behind in rural areas. It's odd, and it's very concerning. My heart goes out to both Jesse and Matthew's families. I truly, truly hope that they will eventually get answers. If you have any other cases that you want me to look into, leave them down below, and I will do my best to look into them. And as always, I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video.